Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 12 review, and this episode is called Pillar of Salt. And this episode was released, at least in the United States, or at least from what it says on Wikipedia, on September 18th, 2016. And that's essentially pretty much all I have to say right there. But let's talk about what happened in this episode. So what happened is the episode opened up. So like I said before, because this is broken down into two storylines, I'm going to talk about both storylines at the same time. So this episode starts off with this family that we see in the colonial, and they pretty much say it's not really safe there anymore because they know some sort of attack or something is coming. So they just want to leave. So they go to leave through the bus that leaves right outside the colonial. They take one of the infected and kill it, and as you guys would guess, because they have to do this every scene, or at least or every episode, they rub the infected's guts all over them. And they go to find a safe place, but then this truck passes by them, and we see that it's the bandits, and the bandits recognize them from the colonial, and they get upset when they don't have their Oxycontin, so they end up kidnapping them because I think they're going to start to interrogate them. And then, but I liked the opening scene. I thought it kind of did a really good job of setting the tone for the rest of the episode. What ends up happening is the next day they find out that we find out that this at least the father's name. We don't find out the mother or the daughter's name, but we find out that the father's name is Francisco, and we find out that the rest of the colonial find out that he left the group, and they're heartbroken about it because he was pretty much one of the people that started this colonial. But Alejandro is heartbroken about this, but what's her name? Luciana and Nick suggest that he talks to these people, so that way they won't get scared and they start leaving. So he has this big speech talking about how they can only stand together as a group, as a community, because the death doesn't define them, and death and they can rise from death. I thought it was a very good speech, and Luciana and Nick are about to go make the trade like normal, but Alejandro tells them not to, saying that no one's going to leave the community until, the colonial, until I say otherwise, and tells Luciana to talk to the scouts to make sure they're not too scared. And Nick, obviously, and Luciana, when they talk about this later on by themselves, Nick says that if they don't make this trade, then it's just going to lead to some trouble, and it's going to lead to the bandits wanting to come find them. So Luciana, though, wants to do what Alejandro says because he's the reason that any of them are here today. And then Nick says that I'm not here because of him, I'm here because of you. So the Luciana says that makes me the boss. So then later on in the episode, Nick goes to confront Alejandro about this, and Alejandro says that pretty much sticks to his guns and tells him that he doesn't want to be the type of guy that makes these type of decisions, but he is, and Nick should stand by him. And then Nick says that death can't define them, but we shouldn't blindly just think of the dead. We should be thinking of ourselves. So when none of this works, Nick goes to find one of the guys in the colonial and wants to go behind their back, his back, He's gonna go behind Alejandro's back and go make the trade, and they're gonna go later on in the night. But what ends up actually happening is when Nick goes on top of the Colonial, we see that the bandits did find them, and they're looking in the Colonial with binoculars. So obviously that's teasing tension about what could happen later on this season. So I like this stuff. I liked this story. I thought it was very good. I'll give it an up. Actually, I shouldn't say it was very good, but it was a good storyline. It was easy to follow. I liked it. But as this was happening, um, we have to talk about everything that was going on the hotel side of things. So, pretty much things are looking really well um, with the hotel side of things. It's adjusting very nicely towards to the hotel. They're making a nice home for themselves, and we find out about Hector's brother. Um, how he went to Tijuana, and he ended up going to and that's where he's been when this world started. And obviously Hector's very upset about this, and obviously this was a plot device to kind of set up what was going to happen later on in this episode. And what ends up happening is the mother of the bride from the wedding at the hotel, I believe her name is Laura, comes in and stabs Nick. No, I'm sorry, doesn't and stabs Strand because well, it doesn't say her name, but I'm just gonna call but the mother of the of Oscar's wife stabs Strand, and um the um the wound's not infected or anything, um and it's not deadly, but it needs to be treated immediately. And I did like the story where they had to deal with it, and Madison was the one that, since she's the main character of the show, she kind of had to get take care of the situation, and they're not going to throw her out in the streets, but they're going to keep her locked up on constant watch. But if anybody within the hotel group attacks anybody again, they're going to be thrown out on the streets. And um, for the Ilana or Elena knows where to get supplies, and they go to get it. And um, what happens is yeah, so they go to get the supplies, and Elena and Hector get into an argument. It's in Spanish, so we didn't really know what they were saying. But when Madison asked her what they were fighting about, they talk about Hector's brother, how he chose this group over their family, and Hector's never forgiven him for that. And then they go to this place, and they go to get the supplies, but what ends up happening is Madison overhears Francisco and their family being interrogated about the Colonial, and it's in Spanish, but Madison overhears what's going on, and when Elena translates for her, Madison goes upstairs, and um, she has a feeling that they're talking about Nick, but they won't give, but Francisco and stuff won't give him any information about if it's Nick or not, because they don't want to give away the Colonial. So Madison gets told to leave, and yeah, Madison gets told to leave. And if they come back, and if they do something like this again, or if they come back, there'll be dire consequences. And Madison comes back with the supplies. I did like too how they showed a scene with Alicia and Strand, where where they talked about how Alicia raised herself, and she talked about how she took care of her brother and her father, but the reason that her mom never took care of her was she was too busy for her, and she never saw me as one of her own. And Strand said to make her. So then when Madison comes back, she has like all the hotel lights go off and stuff like that, so that way she can attract Nick, get Nick's attention. And Alicia's upset that she still wants Nick to come back when he chose death over family, and Alicia's still here with the family, standing strong. And that was essentially kind of the end of that. And what happens is, who do we see? None other than watching in the distance, none other than Travis, who we see is by himself now. So I'm assuming we're gonna find out why, in the episodes to come. And but yeah, I like the hotel storyline that gets it up. It looks like too that it's going to be a nice way for Matt for these storylines to kind of intertwine with the colonial storyline. So I do kind of like when that type of stuff happens, and it's more like an organic type of thing instead of it being forced. And then what ends up happening is we finally got the whereabouts of Ophelia. We find out pretty much that she's going to go back to the United States because she thinks Mexico's too messed up of a place. It showed flashbacks of her boyfriend proposing to her and asking her to come to Mexico with him. But it showed. Then her mother ended up kind of talking her out of it when she realized what her parents, who is obviously Griselda, what her parents sacrificed for her to come to the United States. So I like that. But overall, this episode I thought was a good episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I thought it set up some nice stuff to happen in the future. But I still think this show just needs to really... It feels like it's still a good show, but it really needs to really start to... One of the problems with this show is I don't feel intrigued to watch the next episode when it after watching this one, and I feel like that's a recurrent thing. What can make a really good TV show is you want more. But for me, I don't really feel like I want more after I watch an episode. I think occasionally that does happen, but then I end up being let down with the next episode. And maybe that's the problem too, is none of the episodes are consistently like must-watch episodes, so it makes it kind of tough to really invest with these episodes. But that's just me. But overall, if I had to rate this episode, I'm gonna rate this episode a B minus. I thought it was a good episode, and people overall people agree with me. This show got a 71% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It received positive reviews, but like I said, I think they said that people says that this show needs long-term interest and needs fresh plots and stuff like that. So there you go. And only one person reviewed it on IMDb, and they gave it a 7. And this person gave it a 7 out of 10. So that's, I guess, nice right there. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this episode of Fear the Walking Dead. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video you guys will get the notifications for it. And make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers and No One the Talking Native YouTube channels. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.